Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex, and this is Big Baby Reviews. Once again, I am joined by Mark Darden. He is with me here today, checking out some more image stuff, and more specifically today, kind of a what if. We're looking at Wills Portasio just before, pre-image when he's very popular on the X titles, and we're going to kind of look at the wind up to what would have been WETWORKS and when it was supposed to come out, and why we were left with nothing. Mark?
Yes, great sadness why we were left with nothing. Happy to be here. It's a fun one to look at. The what was supposed to be the seventh title from the seventh founder that should have followed shortly after Cyberforce. And instead it was well behind the second wave and even
Yeah,
further.
listen, for myself, I'll be honest, we've talked about this before where I kind of came into like serious collecting with Image in the beginning of Image. So
Uh-huh.
I hadn't seen any of the Wills Portasio and Kenny X-Men. I might have seen a
Oh,
comic on the
okay.
stand or something like that, but never bought into it. Basically, I was doing the Jim Lee X-Men. I was doing X-Force with Rob Liefeld. McFarlane was already gone. That was kind of just like the beginning of it for me. So with Wills, it was just this thing of, for me, seeing some cool art and
Uh-huh.
from the backstory that we're kind of going to be looking at here, kind of figuring out that he's kind of, I guess, kind of a big deal. That's what it seems like. And
Yeah.
for it all to eventually peter out, even for myself, who had pretty high anticipation, in spite of not knowing really much about Wills Portasio pre-image, WETWORKS looked really cool to me.
Well, yeah, and Willis was a big part of Homage Studios before Image, where he and sorry, the inker, I'm forgetting the inker's name
Oh,
right now.
Williams.
Yeah, he and Scott Williams had joined forces, and then Jim Lee came on board, and they got a studio together and moved to a bigger space. And there's this issue of X-Men that like the three of them just knocked it out. I think in a week, like there was a big deadline issue, and they got on it in 1 week, and like boom, here's your comic. So they really came up together. So for them in house, it's a big deal. This is their buddy. He's right there, and he's supposed to be the next one. And then obviously family issues. Um,
Yeah, they
so
kind of came, all three of them kind of came up the ranks together, right? Like, and especially just penciling wise, Jim Lee and Wills Portasio. There's differences there, but there's a lot of similarity in the aesthetic, at least, and the look that they kind of probably developed a little bit together, I think, from working at the same studio. And he was definitely positioned, again, at that Jim Lee level, kind of level of art, at least my perception of it, with those early issues of Wizard and Preview and all that.
yeah. I mean his Uncanny X-Men was another one of the big numbers, along with X-Force and X-Men. So yeah, he was right there, and also working in that studio together. From the stories I hear, it's like Jim Lee was cribbing stuff off of Willis, like he was seeing how he would draw, and um,
Well, it seems like early on, Wills was maybe just slightly earlier in the business, slightly more seasoned than Jim Lee at the point we kind of saw both of their artwork. And they were, early on, once they started becoming popular, basically, uh, doing all, well, not all the X titles, but the two most popular X titles were definitely drawn by Jim Lee and Wills Portasio, right? The best selling.
yeah, yeah, they definitely had the big one.
That's why I wanted to pull out this Wizard. This interview that's on screen now is from Wizard Magazine #8, and just kind of it gives you a glimpse of how
Mhm.
comics changed from, I would say, literally this issue '08 to '09, right? Because we're going to see kind of the chronology here. This is pretty cool. This is like a pre-image. We don't know anything about Image at this point. And Wills Portasio is working on Uncanny X-Men, and this is a Wizard article on this new hot artist. And what I was really surprised about, we're not going to go through the details of the article, right? That's basically what I just told you, an up and coming artist. But the sheer number of pages dedicated early on in a Wizard magazine to any kind of feature. This is 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 pages.
Yeah.
I think, yeah,
So
9 pages of content on Wills Portasio. So definitely, like, in wrestling terms, a big push right in this issue here. So um I don't know if maybe at the point where they were close to publishing this, there were rumblings about Image and what was going on, but they definitely gave him a lot of shelf space with 9 pages in Wizard this early on. And this is something I don't see repeated in Wizard. These 9 page articles on artists, specific
Yeah.
artists.
Yeah, and I don't think there'd be much about image because I look back at previews and remembered as a kid when Rob Liefeld, when they announced Youngblood coming out through Malibu, there was no image attached to it. It was just Rob Liefeld is doing a comic outside of Marvel that's his own thing. And so those issues came out like that. And then with Spawn, that's when it started forming, and then just Spawn came out and it built. Um, so yeah, initially it was just Rob was doing a book, and it grew into something much bigger.
Absolutely. So the next bit is from Wizard number 9, the very next issue of Wizard. And boom, we've got officially the announcement of Image Comics, right?
Yeah.
Pretty
With that,
historic, pretty historic picture, right?
right. But the uncropped original one where Rob's buddy happens to be there, uh, and Willis is not.
Yeah.
So there's Hank
Pretty,
Connects.
so it's interesting to think that maybe even by Wizard magazine number 9, Wills was maybe not even involved yet, or hadn't been asked to be involved, or
Yeah,
it almost foretells things to come in a weird way.
yeah, I'm sure. It might have just not made it to the meeting that night, and they took the photo. Who knows? And yeah, and obviously here's another guy, Hank, who just happens to be there. Definitely not a founder.
Yeah, like you said, Rob Liefeld's buddy. But yeah,
Yeah.
so that's chronologically, with the Wizard magazines, we can kind of map this stuff out, especially the early ones. So, image announcement. Next one, I'm gonna have to zoom in on this just a little. Well, listen, I'll read the big parts. Image Press reveals 1992 plan. So this is like the first press release in Wizard magazine number 10. Where they announce what they're going to be working on, and the first mention of Wills Portasio doing anything with Image. So
Mhm.
we'll zoom in because most of the stuff that's there actually comes out. We're talking about early brigade and stuff like that. Supreme. Um, I'm just trying to find exactly where it is.
I see
Right
Potassium.
down here, December
Huntsman number one.
1992.
Huntsman number one. Claremont and Wells Potassio.
Yeah, let me just zoom out.
Yeah. Cyberforce
Uh,
number four. November 1992, Cyberforce number four by Mark Silvestri, and then Huntsman number one by Chris Claremont and
there it
Wells
is.
Potassio. Yeah. First of a four-issue miniseries. Uh-huh.
So our first inkling of Will's moving on to Image.
Yeah. It's going to be with the old writing buddy from X-Men who had been on X-Men for a long time. What did he have? Did he have 15 years on X-Men?
Who's that? Chris Claremont? I think it was like 18,
Okay, yeah. It was
almost 20 years. Yeah.
really impressive, yeah. And then was out.
Yeah, he
Kind of.
kind of got shafted on that one a little bit, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, he sure did. I mean, definitely seems like the young guys had ideas and they couldn't work it out. And they went with the hot artist over, or maybe he just went, well, I'm not, just forget it. Who knows?
Yeah, I do feel like there was definitely like the editorial in the X-Men office at that point were very artist friendly. The Bob Harris, I think his name is, with the Jim Lees and the Rob Liefelds and stuff like that, and giving them a lot of leeway and letting them create characters. And those contracts that Rob Liefeld got for like Cable and Deadpool, they only were around for a few years, and he's still reaping the benefits of that. More power to him. But like he's talked about Marvel would like to change that deal, and he's like, nope,
Yeah.
gonna keep it as is, and he has kind of like the legal power to do that. So that's great. That's great. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Once a comic book creator's not getting fucked over is we'll take that as a win.
He
But
tried
yeah,
to.
anyways,
Anyway.
yeah, we're way off. Back to Wills. I just pulled this one out from Wizard Magazine 13 because it's kind of the first mention of WETWORKS and the first kind of article detailing, Wills's project and what it is. Different, obviously, than Huntsman from a few, even 3 issues ago, 3 months ago, it's announced, right?
Four. What month is the issue?
Uh, I'm not. It doesn't state down here, so
Oh,
we're at Wizard 13 with this one.
oh,
I feel like
okay.
13 is maybe July. like 14 is no 12 is August, so it
September.
must be September. Yeah.
Maybe September because I got 15 sitting in front of me. So
Yeah.
yeah, September.
So I didn't, again, this is the just the descriptor of what the series is going to be. A little bit of promo art there. What's that you
Yeah.
hold
So this is the previews magazine. So this
up?
came out the month before that announced WETWORKS.
Okay.
So yeah, then they just for previews the month before we had well, it's the same ad, put in color.
Yeah, I pulled that one out too of Wizard number 14. That was my kind of first first me first setting my eyes upon any kind of Wetworks art. And I thought this image was freaking awesome back in the day.
Yeah. And I was reading the little write-up and it already referenced Team 7 that the WETWORKS comic book, they are Team 7, which makes sense that they're not called the WETWORKS. Uh
Especially before, well, I guess because what they're doing are wet work missions, right?
yes.
That's where the name comes from. But the fact that they're covered in another gold kind of liquid, also implies a bit of wet works to me. They always evoke that a little bit too. And probably when I was 12 years old, 11 years old, I didn't actually know what wet works were, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's going to be gory missions.
yeah, for sure.
Be up close and personal.
And now you pulled it up. You can pull if you want to pull up the cover to Wizard 15.
Oh yeah. Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, and a fold-out cover too at that.
So what we're trying to get at, guys, is that basically, Wills could not have been promoted more on his way to what was supposed to be Wetworks issue number one.
Hmm.
Released, it was supposed to be released in what, like November of what was that first year, 1992?
Oh, I can get you that very quickly. So it should have come out. Oh, there we are. 1 sec. Yeah, it should have came out in November of 92, the month after Cyberforce number one. So it was supposed to be the seventh release, or at least seventh number one, and they were falling in, rapid succession of like April 92 was Youngblood number one, and then May 92 Spawn number one. Then there was 3 months to July for Savage Dragon, and then the next month of in August it was Wildcats and Shadowhawk, and then 2 months to October for Cyberforce, and then November should have been Wetworks. Uh, but it didn't work out that way, as it wasn't actually released until June of 94. So it was massively delayed, a year and 7 months.
Yeah, over a year and a half for sure.
Yeah.
And what I'm kind of thinking at again is, all this image momentum that Wills is the last guy, the last book coming out, right? So
Yeah.
he's, as we kind of shown with all this promo that we've seen over like now, what is this, 6 or 7, more than half a year's worth of Wizard issues, all the momentum that the other guys are building by putting out their books and then having kind of constant hits all the
Yeah.
way through. Even when Rob's putting out Brigade, I think that's like in August already. That came out the same month as Shadowhawk and Wildcats, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere around there.
Yeah, Brigade came out in August 92, same month as Wildcats and Shadowhawk. You're absolutely right.
So we've already got like secondary titles coming out. We've already got second and third issues coming out. Image is just like
Yeah.
exploding, right? And Wills is just riding that wave, right? He's getting the benefit, like the most benefit out of all, really.
Yeah. It's all set up for him. Uh,
So we'll take a look at. We've even got. I
oh yeah.
might have to resize here.
Yeah. Good old Wildcats number two.
Yeah.
Which, they did a nice job on making that a cool color without the prismatic.
I was gonna say, yeah, they've obviously recolored it, and that helps a lot, I guess. In yeah, there's something um much more aesthetic about any other image you're gonna find at this cover. Yeah,
Yeah. Good,
definitely
good
more
job,
pleasing.
DC.
Good choice, DC. So I think I could just
Yeah, it's
put one or
way in
two
the back.
pages down here. Yeah, so last page, and then so with all of the media that we've seen up to this point, right? The interview with Wills, just pre-image, he's riding high on Uncanny X-Men. Bishop, right? He created Bishop, kind of Cable's second coming in a weird way, right? They're trying to create a Cable-like character, at least I feel like, with Bishop. Um, and possibly involved with Chris Claremont. Then he's not. Then we get the WETWORKS announcement. We get the ads. We get the artwork. We get the Wizard cover.
Yeah.
We get another interview. And finally, this is do you have a release date on Wildcats
Yes,
number
this is
two?
October, so it's the month before. So they're
Right? Like it's
supposed to come out in November, and in October, you've got Jim Lee's book in your hand, and you're seeing a preview of his buddy's book that's gonna come out next month.
everything is just like as perfect as it could be. Marketing wise, momentum wise, all of that. It's another slam dunk, right? Or you would think so. And you got this great preview to look at that's got some amazing Wills Portasio art. Just this being the first page that you see is, it's what I wanted to see. Bunch of guys shooting guns, and clearly, I had assumed from the look of the character that he was armored and that he'd probably be bulletproof, and that'd be another cool aspect of whatever
Yeah.
this thing is, this armor is. And with a close-up shot at the bottom, the weird shaped panel, and just the focus on the eyes, that traditional kind of Kirby focus. We know that something pretty cool is coming on the next page as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun setup. It's a neat layout to a page.
All the sound effects in the back here, like it all adds to kind of the chaos of the situation. Just the 90s aesthetic all over this guy, the metal, the sheen, the bullet holes in the background, all looks awesome. Wills is like he's one of the more solid artists, I think, at Image. Unfortunate that he had so little output, early on, but he's
Yeah.
I've come to prefer his art to Jim Lee's, where I've talked about Jim Lee. I feel is always a little bit stiff somehow in some of his poses, where Wills is very kinetic and dynamic. Let's check out the next page.
Yeah. And then it's a great two-page spread. Looks like it got cut off a little bit on the edge there.
Yeah, just fixing that.
Yeah.
You got it all.
But yeah, it's a cool layout where the panels are just going all the way across in a two-page spread, and then a few panels at the bottom. It's kind of a smart move to have them a little bit over to the side so you don't get confused. But anyway, it's a cool spread with just more cool action. Not really a background that establishes anything anywhere, but that doesn't really seem to be the point. It's just I'm getting attacked and I'm about to lay waste to these guys. But yeah, it's an awesome looking preview.
Since, again, it is a preview comic, it's 4 pages, it's not very long. I can
Yeah.
totally excuse that. You know what I mean? That's not this. He's definitely given us exactly what we expect. Like I said, that first page is kick ass. Something kick ass is happening when you're going to turn the page, and something kick ass does happen. I love this guy's, I forget his name. I forget any of their names, I think, in WETWORKS. This will be Wetwork 1, right? His arm cannon that he's got, this double barrel thing, cool choice. I've talked about, again, the kind of predator appeal of WETWORKS. And
Yes.
if you like Commando and you like Predator, there's no way you wouldn't like WETWORKS, right? It was just those guys with some cool golden armor on top of it. Just again that 90s habit of just making something a little more extreme, right, than it's been before.
Yeah, he's going into hand-to-hand combat with a grenade launcher.
Yeah,
Just a little over the top.
absolutely, right. And again, that's what was fun about the comics of that period, I think, and especially of that age. I remember I was living out west, funny enough, in Victoria here in Canada, so all this stuff, skateboarding, BMXing, all the extreme nature of the early 90s. It wasn't just comics, right? It was everywhere. So it's also why I think a lot of these comics reverberated within us in our youth. I love this shot down here, just art wise too, of them punching this guy, and like I'm assuming part of his jaw is broken off or ripped off here.
Yeah.
And
That
just
definitely just broke.
yeah, or dislocated severely. And
Yeah.
clearly some blood gushing out, but the visual treatment of the blood is very different than what I've ever really seen and how blood's depicted. And I just find it very kind of interesting graphically, just an interesting choice there that's very different and that shows where Will's Portasio sometimes is a bit more of an experimenter
Mhm.
and tries some interesting stuff on the page, especially like inking wise.
Yeah, it's a little bit like Venom's symbiote when it gets hit and kind of streams off.
Exactly. Like there's just something about like it's not just blood, but part of his face going with it, and the
Yeah.
movement that he's created with that kind of quick hatched line that he's done. Just to do just a straight line for blood is actually quite rare. And oh no, I'm just flipping it around. Last page here. And
Yeah.
this, unfortunately, is the last page of WETWORKS we're going to get within, we'll say, its proper time frame or what should have been its proper time frame.
Yeah. And then we get to see the rest of the team. It's set, and there's another 6 people on the team, so it's 7-person total. Um, and some of them have some cool identifying factors. One of them has a cybernetic arm along with their gold-plated body, and one of them's wearing a mask, and one of them's got bigger guns. So yeah,
Listen, he pulls off the cool team shot, right? Really, each character is in a different position, different type of body language, right? That again works with the design to differentiate them. Some guys, there's one guy who's pretty short, right? Kind of like Wolverine, and then there's the super tall guy. Listen, these are all tropes that artists use to differentiate the characters one from another, and it makes sense that he would use them here. I think it works really well. There's a nice fluidity to the art, and even the guy standing there just holding his gun, I don't. There's something fluid to his movement where I can see him walking forward or something. I don't feel it's stiff. Again, the posing is fairly naturalistic, even for a bombastic kind of comic book look. Um, I love that shot at the end where he's got all the blood on his face. Really, kind of, playing with the gore again that they couldn't at the when they were doing the Marvel comic stuff, and the restraint again, color wise, right? Because I remember when WetWorks eventually does come out, and we'll look at that before we finish up today, real quick. The computer coloring had become, overbearing on the artwork at that by that point. They I can understand it's a new technology and you're learning to use it, and eventually you get good at it and you start, learning different effects, and you want to throw everything in there. But the coloring on these few pages, so much better and clearer than what we're going to get on the actual title more than a year and a half later. So we'll have a look at that then. I guess I'm going to have to refresh here. There we go. And just let me do a little reframe on that.
yeah. And when it finally comes out, it's a what is that? It was a trifold because it was front, back, and a fold out.
Yes. Unfortunately, this PDF isn't great, and
Uh-huh.
we don't get the whole fold out. We've got this PDF actually starts with the back part of the cover, which is a bit odd. So I figured we'd just stick to this here. And right away, the art is still great, but I could see the color treatment just in the image eye. This stuff here is
Oh,
what I don't want to see, basically.
uh-huh.
And a lot more reflective stuff on the armor, which I guess makes sense. But when we go inside, there's kind of a darker, murkier kind of vibe that I don't enjoy quite as much. So let's go find let's do here. There we go. There's the back cover.
Yeah, and they start out as regular, or well, as an advanced military team, as a highly trained military team, but not with some sort of superpower yet.
So just a regular predator level at this point.
Yes.
No powers, no what
Yeah.
we'll learn to be kind of symbiotic armor, I guess, for lack of a better
Not
term.
training big guns.
And have this come out um, when it was supposed to, pretty sure it would have been a hit.
Oh yeah.
Here's where the colors start to just kind of get murky. Not as pleasing as before to my eye, but the introduction of the symbiote here, he's doing a thing where we're inside of this kind of
Uh-huh.
whatever holding tank they're in, and we're kind of on the side of the armor or the symbiote or whatever you want to call that.
Yeah. It's an interesting shot, an interesting point of view to come at it.
It's definitely interesting.
I wonder how different the art would have been if it came out on time, like how much of this was done before his year and a half delay due to family matters, and whether he got some of it done during that time, but it would be kind of interesting to know. It's very different to come back to something a year and a half later.
Yeah, absolutely. Did he do a few pages and then stop and then
Mhm.
start up again? What we're always interested in the nitty gritty little details like that. So, I'd definitely be interested in finding that out. I don't know. Again, kind of a sensitive subject. I don't know if you can just, walk up to Mr. Protasio and start asking questions about that, but it's in our nerdy nature to want to learn these things.
Yeah, just out of curiosity.
For sure. Yeah. Understanding, I guess, right? But yeah, I guess this is, was not to be in its proper time frame. Yeah, see what it does to the spreads there.
Yeah. And it's also interesting as the comic goes on, a lot of the team they transform. This one guy becomes blue and becomes more and more energy, and another guy just keeps growing and getting bigger and then starts controlling these balls of energy around him. And so they kind of differentiate the characters more as time goes on as well.
Well, I
Uh,
assume, yeah, as you start writing the title and you got to come up with stuff. Uh, I guess the overall WetWorks golden concept went by the wayside, and everyone started developing more individualistic characteristics and powers. Um, I wonder because we talked about Splitting Image, the parody, where there was a preview of what was called WetWorks, and they were all kind of swimming around and splashing each other in the pool and stuff. Sometimes I wonder, was like this spread here, even though we're not seeing the whole spread, but like, there's almost something kind of pool-esque about, they all seem to just kind of be naked in the shot. So it's a little odd and awkward, right?
yeah. Well, and yeah, and they gotta cover the groinal area or leave it very Ken dollish.
Well, it's what do you do? You end up looking like a toy rather than like a real person, right? Maybe, you know, you shade it off somehow, or just kind of an off-putting look, I think, when you look at it, this crotchal area here. I know it's a weird detail, but just gives off a weird kind of, I don't know, down at the sauna kind of vibe.
Yeah, I wonder what the date was on the spitting image number two, because I wonder if even that preview is out yet, if the Wildcats number two preview is out yet, and if they just had to work off of the name.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I that's another nitpicky detail that I'd love to be in on and know about. Splitting Image was hilarious, and there were lots of like in jokes in that series that it took me years to figure out later, right? And reading up on it on the internet, and, oh, this referred to that, and I was like, oh, geez, of course, yeah, yeah. I mean, the Wills Portasio stuff maybe was a little more obvious because it was happening kind of in real time, that whole situation where the book didn't come out. So,
Uh, yeah,
and
I remember when it first didn't come out as a kid, it just felt like, well, there's Image again, a few months behind because so
sure,
many books were delayed and happening not nearly as quickly as they were supposed to. But obviously it went far more for Wetworks. I mean, Youngblood number two was like 3 months behind. Spawn actually was one of the most consistent, where like there was a 3 month delay one time, but then there was a month where two books came out. So it was like
that's it.
beginning and
Yeah,
end of the month to kind of catch up a little. Savage Dragon was pretty consistent, but there was a 3 month delay in between issue one and two on Savage Dragon. Wildcats two and three had a 3 month delay. Three and four had a 4 month delay. Shadowhawk was like every other month. Cyberforce had it had almost a half year delay in between issue one and two. Very inconsistent. And then 2 months to issue three, 2 months to issue four. So there was a lot of delays. So when Wetworks number one didn't come out the month it was supposed to, it didn't spell this isn't coming out.
sure.
A few months was like, oh, how many months do I got to wait on this one to come out? And then turned out it was a much bigger deal, not coming out for a year and a half.
Well,
Yeah.
he just missed the whole bubble, right? He was right in it. Again, all that momentum built up more so than any of the other six guys, right? I mean, he benefited from each of them
Yeah.
propping up image slowly but surely, and then just nothing. I mean, for an honorable reason to take care of his sister and all
Yes.
that, but yeah, it just
Absolutely.
kind of sucks that he didn't get his due like the other guys in a way, and didn't profit off those first, batch of books that come out the first
Right. There were
year and a
still
half worth.
yeah, there were still good sales. It just wasn't the crazy sales that were happening for
Well,
the
the sales that made
couple years.
that made Liefeld probably all of the millionaires.
Yeah.
I don't know about Jim Valentino, pretty close probably, but I know for sure Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, and Tom McFarlane became millionaires just on the sales of that first issue.
Hmm.
So yeah, you got to strike the iron while it's hot, I guess.
Right.
All right, guys. I think we've basically said it all. Is there anything else you wanted to add? We're gonna come to the end of this video. So, Mark, anything else you want to say?
Oh yeah, I'm just looking forward to doing sort of a ranking video of the
Yeah,
original Image 6, and also thought it'd be fun to kind of compare their issue threes, where they're a little bit further in, and like who's coming up versus who's maybe fallen off a little bit in there.
sure.
So I thought that was neat. I was flipping through all those. But yeah, ranking all the issues will be a fun one.
Absolutely. Any gigs coming up? Let us know.
Oh yeah, there's a little gig this weekend, and then I'm running my second show next weekend. So I'm running a show at a brewery. So it's my second show as a producer, and this one's got a bit more of a budget, so there's more on the line. I'm kind of like feels like I should be doing more right now, but as far as I know, I've done everything I'm supposed to. So it's a weird situation.
Gotcha, man. Well,
Yeah.
good luck with all of that. Hope it goes well for you. The fact that you even have a budget is great. So,
Yeah. Oh, and I get to go back to I've got a festival in Cleveland I'm going to, so I get to perform a Wednesday and a Friday night this time. So I bumped up. So that's gonna be cool. That's in a month.
very
So
cool.
yeah,
Cleveland. I don't know if you've
yeah.
seen the video.
Cleveland rocks. Yeah.
Yeah, this one's not quite as upbeat and positive about Cleveland, but it's funny nonetheless. It's a parody.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. It's not that song. Okay.
No, no, this is something else, but yet pretty hilarious. Anyone wants to look it up, Cleveland theme song or something, and it'll,
Okay.
yeah, you check that out. All right, well, if that is it, then I'm going to give my end of the video spiel. Everyone out there who's been watching and supporting the channel, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. Anyone out there who is not subscribed yet, please do so below. It only takes a quick second for you, and it really helps the channel out, helps us grow, and helps get us out there to other people who are into comic books just like we are. So everyone out there, thank you once again. Mark, thank you, and everyone have an awesome day.
Would.
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.
Like, subscribe!